So basically what DAX it's a language within Power BI that creates new information from data that is already in your model. And you can think of DAX as being similar to Excel functions if you are familiar with those, except DAX is a little bit more in depth and it's really powerful the more you get to know it. And as you dig more into Power BI, you're definitely going to need to know DAX. And so hopefully I can help you get started with it. And so I just wanted to start first with a just showing some basic things with DAX. And the data set that I'm using right here is bank data, specifically with loans that the banks have given out. And so first, I'm just going to show a current balance of the loan. Um, so this, when you just click on a field, a measure from the data source, this is within the model, it will populate with an aggregation. And so let me change this to a card so we can see it. And I will take off the display units. So we see that this is the current balance of all the loans that the bank has given out. And over here, we see that it's summing right now. So if we go to average, it'll change to the average of current balance and then minimum, maximum, etc. So these are all the different aggregations that you can do that are built in to Power BI. So real quick, I wanted to show that we can recreate that very easily by coming here, selecting new measure, and you'll see this little tiny bar that shows up here. This is the DAX formula bar, and so I'm going to make a new measure. I'm going to call it aggregation, and I'm just going to do sum of the current balance of loan. So sum is the function and current balance of loan is what I'm running that function on. And so I just hit enter and it slowly creates it. And over here, I can see that it just popped up. So this little calculator means that this is a new measure that I have made within this Power BI workbook. And so I'm going to go ahead and select it. And let's make it a card as well. And take out the display units. And so you can see that it is the built-in aggregation of Power BI. And so if we change this one to average, I can take this one and you see that I can't change the aggregation here, but I'll have to go to the field itself and come up here, take out the sum function and just put in average instead. That works. Hit enter and then it matches. So that's how Power BI does their default aggregations. Now, that's not that exciting. So if we want to, I'm going to make a copy of this. I think I can, or I'll just make a new aggregation. So I'm going to make a new measure. And this is I'll just call it aggregation again, except I'm going to do a little bit more with it. So I'm going to do the sum of the current balance of loans. And then I'm going to divide by, let's say, the count of the current balance of loans or another field that you need. So this calculation doesn't really make that much sense, but it will allow us to get different insights that we couldn't get by the default Power BI functions. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there and voila, let's see, aggregation again, yes. So this is creating an average for us. So basically that's a very simple DAX function right there. There are a ton of different functions that you can use. And in the PowerPoint that is attached, you can click on the resources that I've linked in my slides to go to the Microsoft DAX formulas help sheet. And it's really good to use that. And real fast, I wanted to show working with dates. And so if we get a, actually not working with dates, working with quick measures. If you don't really know how to do DAX yet, this is a great way to get a hang of it really quickly. So I'm going to use current balance of loans, and then I'm going to use original date of loans. I'm going to make it a line graph, spread it out horizontally. I'm going to change this to original date of loan. So we see that this is basically showing us whenever there has been a loan made, and the date that made and the sum of it for that date. So let's say I want to see the running total of our loans that we've given out. So I'm going to come over here to current balance of loan, right click, new quick measure. It's going to load a minute. Okay, so you select a calculation. So I want to do a a running total. So the base value, sum of current balance of loan, that's correct. And I'm going to go into the fact loan table and bring in original date of loan as the field that it's going to be running the total over. Hit OK. And it will create that right here. So I drag that in, and I drag in original date of loan again, bring it down to original date of loan, make it a line chart. And voila, we have a running total over that spans the whole time the bank has been in business. And we see the total amount of loans. The cool part about this is if you click on the DAX measure here, you can see how Power BI is calculating it. So you see that it's using a calculate function, it's using a sum function, which we have used previously. It's using a filter function, and it's doing some other things that I really don't know what they do, but I can go to the Microsoft Docs and I can look this up and get an explanation of what this function is doing. And that can really help you understand DAX a lot faster because you can see it in action with your data. Lastly, I wanted to show calculated columns, which is another form of DAX. So I'm going to create a new column in my database that is going to be a flag if a loan is past 91 days overdue. I want to have a flag for that so I know that we need to follow up with that loan. So I'm going to come and create a new column. So right click, new column. And I'm basically just going to call this flag. That is a very creative name. And then I'm going to write in an if statement. So if the days late bucket, which shows the different buckets of how many days late the loan has been. If the days late bucket is equal to 91 to 120 days, then I'm going to return a 1, else I'm going to return a 0. Hit enter, it'll calculate for us, and then I can bring in the flag along with, let's go ahead and do the customer SID, identification. Let's make it a table. It's easier to see. And then I'm going to also bring in the bucket, days late bucket. And let's go ahead and make that a little bit bigger so we can see it. Values. Go ahead and up it a little bit to 12. Okay, so we see this table has created the customer SID, the days late bucket, and the flag. So all the ones that have been 91 days to 120 days have been marked with a 1. And then the other ones, if it will load, there we go. So you see the 1 to 30 days is marked with a 0. So that's not really that useful, but what we can do is within customer SID, we can do some conditional formatting. Let's do background color, and we're gonna base it off of the flag field. So the flag 2 that the flag 1, sorry, the original flag that I just made. We're gonna do a sum of it. Default formatting, that's fine. So the lower the value, the better. So I'm just gonna make it white. I'm gonna do a custom value of 0. And then the higher the value, if it's a 1, it's bad. So I'm gonna do a red, and I'm gonna make that a 1. So now when we sort by customer SID, and we can even take off the flag, and we take off the late days bucket. And then we see, oh, look, this customer has a really late loan. And so it's a quick way to grab the user's attention, be like, hey, check out this number right here. So during the user group, I was asked what the difference is between a calculated column and a calculated measure. And that's a great question because there are distinct differences. So with a calculated column, it is actually stored inside of your model. And so if we go to the fact loan table and scroll to the end, we can see that the flag column that I just made is now in my model, and it takes up space within my database. But if I just use a calculated measure, like we were doing here with the basic DAX formulas, that is generated on the fly depending on what you click on in the visual. And so depending on your model strategy, it will depend on if you want to use a calculated measure or a calculated column, and each one has their strengths and weaknesses and different use cases. And so let's go ahead and dive into drill through real fast. So let's go to which one? So Drillthrough is a pretty cool feature in Power BI. It is different than drill down. So if you've heard of drill down, that is where you have a hierarchy set up within your visual, and you can drill down into the next level. So you drill up and you drill down. And so drill through is different. It actually takes you to a whole different page in your report. So when you right click on a feature, you drill through, the drill through option comes up, and you go to example. So I've set this up before, and basically this is a page that details the different days late buckets. And so you can drill into it and figure out what's going on inside of this bucket. So if we go back to the page, I can click on over 120 days and click example. And you see that this changed, and all of the visuals on the page has been filtered to just that bucket. So it's kind of cool to be able to take take all the details that aren't necessarily needed for the overview page and put them into a separate page that the user can drill into. I've used this feature on several occasions, and it's really useful, and it's pretty simple to implement. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how to make it. So let me delete these. So when you have a page set up here, so this is just a page, a new page. You first want to set up a visual that you want to target. So go ahead and copy this visual over here. And I just want to see the standard loan code because that's the second level of the drill down. So I'm going to take out days late bucket. So here's the visual that I want to see. And the way to set up the drill through option is simply bring in that days late bucket or whatever field you want to connect the um, with the previous page, and Power BI will automatically bring up this back button for you. So that's kind of nice. And you'll see over here that this drill through section, you have the days late bucket drill through activated. So now when we come over here to problem loans, we can see drill through details. It'll take us here and it'll be drilled down to just those standard loan code descriptions that are within that bucket. And it brings in all these filters from the previous page. So if you don't want that to happen, you simply turn off keep all filters. But you got to be careful and just understand what you're doing when you select on or off with this and what it will do to the page. So that's a quick review of drill through. Thank you very much for watching.